morning, everyone, and welcome to Castleford Digital Church this morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Pleased to be sharing our Connect time with two people who retired to the corps a few years ago, but actually don't come to Castleford to retire. They've come to involve themselves wholly in the community and mission of the corps and have become completely valued members of our fellowship. So this morning we say good morning to Commissioners John and Dorita Wainwright. Are you there?
We are, yes.
Yes, we are.
Good morning. Both well this morning.
Welcome to our home in Thorpe Willoughby here.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for the welcome. I think lots of people must be starting to think that we just sit on this sofa all the way through all the way lockdown, because we always seem to be sat here, don't we? So it's great that you're joining us this morning, and thank you so much for that. And we'll just kick off really by asking what your day-to-day lives are looking like at the moment.
Well, we keep busy. I think we're still learning what it means to be retired, and probably we're still on probation for that. But the current situation has probably helped us to see some of the benefits of being retired, to enjoy those benefits. We try to divide our days up so that we give time for others and time for ourselves. And in the time that I give to others, I'm writing the weekly devotions for Cameo, of course, which appear online on a Monday afternoon. Yeah. That keeps me quite busy, and I try to keep in touch with the members, especially those who can't access the internet, and try to encourage them. So I enjoy writing, and I've been really pleased to be able to get back to doing this.
Yeah.
Then family is, of course, very precious to us. And so we give time to family, and that includes keeping in touch with that part of our family which is in America. So, you know, that's a challenge as well, kind of, you know, FaceTiming, keeping in touch, which we want so much to do. Yeah. And then, well, we've tried to get back in touch with friends that we've had over the years. We've connected and reconnected with old friends. Then me time for me mainly consists of doing some crafts, and I've tried a few new ones, which include patchwork and quilting, trying to teach myself that, and doing some very small projects. And then we enjoy walking together.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, we've discovered the dales and the wolds of Yorkshire.
Yeah.
I like to do a bit of cycling when I can.
That's great.
And I make quite a mean rhubarb crumble, which is becoming quite well known in these parts. So, but also I sit on a number of boards for the army still, and busy in that way. And I'm a tutor for the Salvation Army Leadership Training College in Africa. So I have quite a regular contact with a number of officers in their training and development. So I enjoy that as well.
Fantastic. I'm sure there's lots of people that didn't know that actually. So yeah, that's really good to know. And also to thank you as well, Dorita, because it's been an amazing thing to actually read those Cameo devotions that you've been sharing. And I know lots of people have been able to see those that wouldn't usually get to. So yeah, that's been great. Sounds like you're both keeping very well and busy, but a good pace of life, it sounds like.
Yeah, to that end of people being able to participate, actually, I would just encourage anyone who's watching this morning just to, if you have a word to share with John and Dorita of thanks, of encouragement, or just to say hello, please do that in the comments, and we'll make sure we share that with them as this morning goes on. Now, we've talked a little bit about being in retirement more recently, but actually I wonder if there are any particular highlights you can look back on from your years in officership.
40 years into 40 seconds.
If you can.
I do my best. I mean, we have so many highlights, particularly serving in Zimbabwe. We were in Kenya twice, in Zambia as well. And Philip was born in Kenya. So that was a highlight of our time overseas. But I remember particularly, if I might just draw two quickly, in 1991, we had the centenary of the Salvation Army in Zimbabwe, and it was the most dynamic and electric of meetings that I've ever experienced in my life.
Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of people. But I remember the youth rally in the conference centre there, which had about 5,000 people. There was this large balcony, and Philip was perhaps Max's age at the time, sitting on my knee, but we were singing constantly, song after song, and the rhythm was such, with everybody dancing, that the whole balcony was shaking up and down. Never have I been so frightened in my life that this thing was going to collapse. But it didn't. But it was just such a wonderful occasion. And later that evening, the president of Zimbabwe and the general of the Salvation Army came, and the president just spoke about how immaculate the work of the army had been in his country. So that was very affirming. But later on in Kenya, our last tour there, we did a water project in a village, but the whole community were involved. And when we asked the chief of the village at the end of it if he could describe the impact of this project, we thought he would say it's given us water for our agriculture, for our needs. But what he said was, you have taught us that we can solve our own problems.
Wow.
And I thought that was a very insightful way that we had done that ministry, to involve the whole community, for them to realize that they had much more empowerment than they thought they had. So there's a couple of highlights.
Definitely.
And I'm sure they're just two of so many. So thank you for picking just a couple. And I'm sure many people will, over the coming weeks and months, ask you to share some more, because I'm sure there are, like I say,
Well,
so
Dorita's
many
got
of them.
one if she's allowed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
go ahead.
Thank you,
Go ahead, Dorita.
Well, I actually have three, so which one to choose now? I think what I recall perhaps about Zambia and Kenya in more recent years was being involved in the fight against human trafficking and raising awareness in that area. Now, lots of people know about the Home League, but you may not be aware that in Africa they have Junior Home League and Youth Home League. So for young girls and young women. And so right across the board, they were able to raise awareness about modern slavery and human trafficking. And so I saw that going on, and using street theatre and things like that in the marketplaces to get the message across. And then when I moved back to the UK, and I was in the Europe department at international headquarters, I was then privileged to join the European Task Force for human trafficking, anti-human trafficking task force, and then an international task force was formed, and I was part of that. So I've really been quite passionate about social justice issues and ongoing as well, because some of you may know that there's an international day of prayer for victims of trafficking and slavery, and that's coming up very soon. So it's on the 27th of September, and that's something that we may want to be involved in. I invite you to do that.
Definitely. That's amazing. And just a glimpse, actually, for those people that are watching that don't know John and Dorita, that is just a glimpse of the kind of amazing work and also the amazing people that they are. The comment section is mostly focused around your rhubarb crumble, actually, John. I think there's quite a few people that are obviously very hungry this morning and comparing puddings that they like to make.
Well, the rhubarb is from the garden.
From the garden, and I have
Oh,
to tell you
that's
that
one
I've
better.
been making crumble for like 40 years, and John's crumble is better than mine.
Wow.
Well, it's a matter of debate.
It's a debate we'd like to have. If you'd like to both make it and share it, that would be a good thing. But certainly, Pam would like to share some recipes, and Catherine's had a great idea that we could do a virtual bake-off. I think that's a lovely thought. I'll just read this one that's coming from Muriel. You've been a wonderful addition to our course, says Muriel. We love having you here with your words of encouragement and caring nature. So thank you, and God's blessings over you. Just one of many comments that people are sharing with you now.
Yeah, lots of lovely comments coming through for you. But we also, we're so grateful actually to have your wisdom as part of our fellowship. And that leads nicely on to the next question, really, which is to ask you what your hope would be for the Salvation Army as we ease out of lockdown.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question, requiring a lot of thought. But
sorry about that.
I don't know whether we come back in small measured steps or whether we come back together after lockdown in a big bang. We don't know yet. But I'd like to think it would be something like the start of the new football season. Just as exciting as Liverpool v Leeds, but we'd be on the winning side. You know, there would be something of a buzz about it because it would take us back to rethink our basics and what are we called to be as a Salvation Army, and how do we reflect that? So I remember I had to, in Zambia and Kenya, give lectures to the cadets at the training college, and one of the subjects was the spirit of the army. And we explored with them what are the key, the DNA, if you like, of what makes up the army. And some of the things that used to come through were things like visibility, reflecting Christ in our living, compassion and empathy, looking up beyond ourselves to others, our internationalism, pragmatic and transforming, and how that all weaves in to the expression of our work at Castleford is a good reflection. Does our community know we're there? And often the army, I say, it boxes above its weight. We have an influence in our communities, in countries as much higher than perhaps the strength of our membership and those things. And people do listen to us. So I hope when the time comes, there'll be a buzz about it and a freshness as we come back together. And I'm looking forward to the day. But having said that, there's a journey to take before we get there. And as Jeremy Clarkson said on Friday in Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, first of all, we have to get you there to the next step. And I think Joy is right in her comments earlier. I think the next few months might be more difficult than the last few. The present reality is that the novelty has now become the norm. And we can become comfortable with a new norm that doesn't involve coming together to worship, that looks at other ways. And I think for some, there will be need of extra. We need to support each other, perhaps even greater than we have in the past. So that there is not a discouragement, not only in terms of loneliness, but a distancing in faith and matters like that. So I think we are in a further dangerous period for one or two reasons. But my hopes would be along the lines of some of those values I've expressed. Yeah.
Lovely. Those are wonderful thoughts and really something for people to chew over in their own minds. To be praying as well for Joy as she leads us and navigates us through what is a very difficult decision-making process. But yeah, thank you so much for that. I never thought that I would hear you reference Jeremy Clarkson, so that's a first for me this morning.
I was watching.
A particularly interesting episode, if for those who haven't seen it, I think on Friday night. That leads us into the part of the Connect spot that we have, where we ask for you to share something with us that will bless and encourage us in the way that you always and regularly do so well. So could you possibly share some scripture or song that has sustained you over these past weeks?
Well, I'd like to share from Paul's prayer for the Ephesians, from Ephesians chapter 3. And this is a lovely passage, verses 14 to 21. But I'm just going to highlight one particular verse where Paul says, I pray that you may have power together with all the Lord's people to grasp how wide and long and high and deep is the love of Christ, and to know this love that surpasses knowledge, that you may be filled to the measure of all the fullness of God. Now, this whole passage speaks to me so much. I love it. And every time I read it, I feel really inspired and it fills me with hope. And I pray that it may do the same for each one of us. We sometimes, because our minds are finite, we kind of limit what God can do. And this just says to me about the immeasurable things that God can do, especially when it goes on into verse 20 and 21, like the benediction. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than we can ask or imagine. That is just wonderful, I think. And we like to measure things. We like to find, put them in boxes. God doesn't do that. And he can do immeasurably more for each one of us than we could ever imagine. And I know that's what he's going to do for our core, for our fellowship.
Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much. John, did you have a song or a scripture that you wanted to share as well?
Well, I was going to bring a couple of prayer requests, if that's okay.
Fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. I think our prayer request would be that God would continue to reveal to us how best we can serve in a retirement capacity. And for us to get the right balance on those things as well. But also that we will have a measure of spiritual discernment to perhaps identify those who perhaps need a special word of encouragement during these days. So for us, that would be the prayer request that we would make.
Yeah, and we know that we do have a praying community at Castleford that reaches far beyond our walls because of digital church. So I would ask the prayer warriors out there to get praying for John and Dorita at their time in retirement, how to use that most effectively and reach out to those around them. Just before we finish, I know it's appeared on screen. I think a nice way to round up the comments is just reading what Rebecca posted to you, which is that she and her family are thankful for your wisdom and your experience, your sense of humour, your kindness and your servant hearts. They and we as well love listening to stories about your ministry. So thank you for sharing all that you have this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good to be with you. It's
Good
like breakfast TV, isn't it?
It is, yes. And we want, if you are watching as well, we would love to invite you. If you would like to be a part of our Connect spot, then please do get in touch with us. We'd also love to hear stories of how you are connecting with one another, photographs if you're meeting up with people from our fellowship, if you are walking together. We would love to hear about any of those stories that our church fellowship is connecting with each other. And now for one of our favourite parts of a Sunday, we are going to go and catch up with our Ignite Kids Church. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you both. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.